Hello, I'm Sheila with The Grateful Goddess, and with me today is Mavy Stoddard. Mavy is an amazing woman who attended one of my vision board workshops, and I was so moved by her story in terms of how much more she has yet to live in this lifetime that I wanted to introduce her to all of you. So, welcome Mavy.
Thank you.
And we are now right at the 1-year anniversary to in Tucson that was very tragic, very sad, and impacted Mavy's life forever. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that point in time.
All right. My husband, Mavy Stoddard, was a wonderful man and spoiled me rotten. And I enjoyed it. We went out for breakfast, or we're headed that way, and we decided to stop to see Gabby Gifford and thank her for all her help with getting among the people and doing just what she was doing. We were about 9th in line. We had our backs turned to him. At the first shot, we turned. My eyes went to the shooter. He had his finger on the trigger and was in a shooter stance. He was starting to fire some more. I started to fall, and Dory pushed me on down and fell on top of me to save me. And that was his last roll. I was starting to pass out, so I had my head down, trying to keep that from happening, still holding Dory. EMT said to me, "Are you hurt?" And I said no, because I didn't know I was. They took me to Northwest, and when they uncovered my legs, they found 5 bullet holes. I have one that's lodged in my thigh, and that's all right, it doesn't hurt. But I just feel that I survived for a reason. So therefore, that reason has to be fulfilled. I'm continuing the work Dory and I did. I remember the mayor coming through. I remember the head of the FBI coming through. And, you know, at this point, a person is just a person. Yeah. I've met so many celebrities. Barack and Michelle could not have been any nicer, any more gracious. They took us to the back room. They talked to all of us. With Dory's family here, there was probably 40. There were 18 of my own. They couldn't have been more gracious, and at the end, he held my hand and said, "If you had a 15-year honeymoon, tell me how." So I did.
Oh, do share with us your 15-year honeymoon.
And we did have a 15-year honeymoon. Mm-hmm. An almost perfect marriage. If anyone ever has a perfect marriage, we did. Right. We'd had 40 years experience with other people's, and at 60, you should be able to solve your problems. When we married, I told Obama that he needed to put God first. They needed communication. Mm-hmm. They needed love. And I said, kiss your wife in public like I saw you do out there, and let the world know you love her. And he said, very humbly, he said, "We are trying." I received 900 cards and letters. Mm-hmm. They kept me busy and kept me on the couch. Mm-hmm. I read every one of them. I answered 150.
You know, to me, that's what I was so moved by in terms of Tucson. You know, I'm not one to read the newspapers or watch the news, so I receive my information just from other people and just the energy that I sense. And I was so pleased with how the energy of Tucson was sadness and compassion. I wasn't sensing any of the anger and hostility. It was really purely sadness, love, and compassion.
Yes, that's what I found. Many, many people were there to help within seconds after the shooting. Mm-hmm. I don't remember being a bit afraid. It just wasn't there. I guess I was in shock. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I know I was, because I never felt the bullets in my legs. Never, all the way to UMC, and I was very fortunate. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was so impressed by you while you were creating your vision board is that you're knowing that you're here on earth to do more.
Yes.
And that's really what I thought so moving, was that you want to be sure that the life he gave for you was purposeful.
Yes, and that's the way I feel. It was very hard, but I do fully understand, and did from the first, that when a person is taken, whomever that be, that world ends for you.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more of the world you've lived in. So the choices you have is to sit and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Let someone wait on you, get better, whatever your reaction is.
Mm-hmm.
And that especially goes with age. A lot of people older just assume somebody else would take over.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get up and make a life, build a life. And that is a chore.
Right.
Because, especially with a marriage like ours, because we were so much a part of each other. And you would have thought we'd been married 50 years, not 15.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he was my boyfriend in 6th grade, and that was kind of fun too. I have a diary that tells about him. I was the first girl he ever kissed, but he had to wait a while. And when our husband and wife had died in '95, and we both moved home, this was home. Our mothers lived here and our families. I had kept up with high school friends. So, and I'd had all the parties in high school, so I started having get-togethers again, and there's 10 of us that are very close, see each other once a month. And some go back to 1st grade and graduate college together.
Mm-hmm.
We've become more a extended family.
Yeah. It's that sense of community and
Yes,
belonging we were
yes.
talking about earlier.
Yes, well, we know them, we've known them longer than we have our kids. But then I thought, you've got to find something for
I
yourself.
guess that was going to be my question, is where you saw your purpose
Yes.
going, and whether you,
Yes.
do you see it in terms of going through grief and helping others through the grieving process, or do you see it more something new, helping the children, doing something entirely different?
You know, I thought at first that's what I needed to do. Because I've worked with especially young ladies most of my life,
Mm-hmm.
in classes and different things, and having 4 daughters of my own, in 5 years.
Yeah.
So I had half the high school there. But as I recover, I don't particularly want to go back into sorrow right now. It might be later. But right now, helping people is important, and this helps. League, and that has helped. That's helping children to be dressed for church or for school and for anything else, but mainly for school. Kids that have never had any new clothes, so that's wonderful. And now I'm involved in the Fix-It gun laws, that we want the illegal guns. Mayor Bloomberg has set this up with these 600 mayors at this point, and we, 11 of us from the shooting, went to Washington and talked to 9 congressmen about this. The law is coming up for funding, and we need all your help. We need you to all know that only 40% of the guns that are sold are checked through the NICS in Washington to make sure they're not being put in the hands of criminals. So I would like to speak more about anything they want me to.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
and the crowd size makes no difference to me.
Nice.
Dory's memorial had between 1,000 and 1,500 there. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And he would be amazed at the good he has done in the kids, especially the kids that have heard his station that I had given an interview in Phoenix last week. And the lady that called me said, you need to know this. She said that a woman called in and said after she saw our story in January, she was an addict. She took herself the next day to a rehab, and she was clean, and she had built a life, and she was so thankful.
And I think that is what is so amazing, is that you never know what part of your story or what part of living and doing and being is going to impact somebody else's life.
That's right.
And make a world of difference. Yeah.
And I heard from many, many children from 5th grade, the whole class would write me letters through college. And I've had some college kids come to me and say, my group isn't happy with our lives and we're changing them. We want to be more like him. And the little junior high girl is saying, I want to find a guy like that.
Yes, yes. That's so...
He was a very patient, kind man who taught me a lot more kindness than I had before. I didn't know God made patient men until I met this one. And I miss him terribly, but I know he would approve of whatever I chose to do with my life.
Right. So, do you have anything you can share with us in terms of words of wisdom about forgiveness?
It's been a very hard thing for me. I've never hated, because I know that's wrong, and it's not within me to hate someone. I felt sorry for him from the day of the shooting and for all the hurt that he created. He hurt himself, his family, and all of us, turned our lives upside down. I have struggled with saying, yes, I forgive him. My earlier interviews, I believe I said I forgive him. But when I really got down to examining it, it has taken me this long. But at this point, I really believe, and I hope I'm right, that my heart has forgiven what he did. Forgiven him.
Was there any process was it just being in silence, prayer, meditation? Okay, and then it just, you felt it just be kind of released from you?
Yes, just within maybe the first anniversary. Maybe there was more meaning to it than... It was wonderful for the town to come out for it, and I'm grateful for that. The candle lighting ceremony was beautiful. That is kind of what brought me to the point of saying, okay, I believe you really can say, I forgive.
In forgiveness, it's not necessarily forgiving the act.
No.
It has not, because it's unforgivable.
Yes.
Right.
The forgiveness has to be within yourself, that you don't hold a grudge or something, because you're the only one that's hurting.
Right.
And, you know, I always tell people to leave the door open, somebody might walk through, because that's what Dory did. I wasn't looking for a husband.
Yeah.
I had been married 41 years, and I bought this house, was putting it together, gone back to school after I moved here. I wasn't looking for someone to share it with. I was decorating it just like I wanted, and all of a sudden, here was a man that wanted a wife.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get married. But when he finally kissed me, we got married 3 months later. So
being open to love is the
open
answer.
to love, yes. Never
At
close your
any
heart
age.
off. At any age. We were 60, and we acted like teenagers and had a ball. And I told him I was crazy, I was expensive, and I wanted to travel. If he still wanted me, I'd marry him.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But I had to finish school because I had started it. Therefore, I was going to finish this design course that I was taking, interior design. And he said, okay, finish it. I'll do everything else. And he did. I'd never been waited on in my life. Since I left home anyway, when I was a little girl.
Nice.
But he did, and I found out what kind of a man he really was. And if I'd looked the world over, I wouldn't have chosen anyone else. And I believe that of him. He found a side of himself he'd never found before. He learned how to have fun and how to play. And all my dreams came true. We were coming in on the ferry in New York Harbor the first time. We've been there a couple times in New York City. And it was shortly after we were married, a few years. And he said, I never thought I'd be here. And I said, I did. I just didn't know how or when.
Well, that speaks so much of a vision board in terms of stating what it is you want, not knowing how or when it's going to happen, but believing that it will.
A mighty heart. I think we all need that. We need it for ourselves, and then we give it to the world. But leave it all open. Your heart is there. Love is there. Even if you never reach what you really want, there's a lot to enjoy in life. And I have to honor my husband. He can't have died in vain. And I have to honor God. So I will keep living. I will keep doing what I feel I have a talent for speaking. And if I can do that, I will. If I can't, I'll find some other talent.
Oh, can I have a hug? Oh, thank you.